Detroit is Different is where you get information, artistry, history, music, and even comedy. Detroit is Different, a home for the culture of Detroit. Visit online at DetroitisDifferent.com today.
All right, welcome back to Detroit is Different, live on location, Hot Sam's 100 years of business right here in the city of Detroit. And I'm talking about two of the people that are big homies to me, mentors, people that have looked at so much that has happened with the city and just the style of the city. Earlier, I interviewed Tony Stovall. Now it's Cliff Green of Hot Sam's. Cliff, how you feeling?
I am well, my brother. How are you?
Oh, everything is well.
Excellent.
Everything is well.
Excellent.
And up this early Saturday before the big celebration, 100 years. How do you
100.
feel about 100 years in business for Hot Sam's?
You know what? It is it's a blessing, you know, that Hot Sam's has been able to sustain itself over 100 years, you know. There's been recessions and depressions, and through it all, Hot Sam's is still a staple in the city of Detroit. So we are truly blessed. But, you know, we really have to give a shout out to the people, our customer base that has supported us over these 100 years. It is truly a blessing. And, of course, without them, it could not be.
Definitely.
For sure.
And when you think about what that customer base is, as I told in asking Tony, like you've seen the changeover in generations too. Grandfathers, fathers, grandsons, and it carries on. Uncles and nephews. What does it mean when you see a whole family connect with this business and you've seen it grow?
I mean, you know, it again, because Hot Sam's has been here for 100 years, you know, we're dealing with third, fourth, and some fifth generations, you know. Matter of fact, about 20 years ago, I had a young man came in, and he told me he graduated from Northeastern High School, which was my high school. I graduated from Northeastern in 1959, and that he bought his graduation suit from Hot Sam's. And he said if he wasn't mistaken, he still possessed that suit. Maybe it didn't fit, but he still had that suit that he purchased in 1959. So you get stories like that. And then, too, my school, Northeastern, every year we had a reunion, you know. So you had people from the 30s that graduated from Northeastern, the 40s, the 50s. And these were all customers of Hot Sam's because Hot Sam's on the east side, Northeastern, Southeastern, those schools on the east side as well. And you had a variety of people. You had Jews, Italians, you had blacks that, you know, shopped at Hot Sam's throughout the course of years. Matter of fact, Hot Sam's was established by a Jewish man by the name of Simon Friedman, who actually established Hot Sam's in 1921. So, but I think over the course of years, the majority of the customer base became African American. You know, early on, it was a mixture of probably 75% more Caucasians because that's who had the money in the city of Detroit at that time. But over the course of years, that changed. And like I said, now I would say 75% of our clientele is African American, and 25% I would say now is Caucasian. Over the last couple of years, Caucasians, you know, white America, has really come down to patronize us. Some Saturdays, for an example, we've had more Caucasian customers come in than African Americans, you know. So they're beginning, in some cases, not to see color as a barrier in terms of shopping with a African American store.
And that's unique because, as we know, when we look at like Claude Anderson's Black Labor, White Wealth and Powernomics and just the understanding of, you know, patronizing black people definitely need to patronize black businesses because oftentimes, you know, for a black business to survive, you need the black customer base, you know,
right, absolutely.
Historically. So going beyond those means definitely says something about the reach, the service, the product, and what you have to offer.
Oh, for sure.
And when we think about what you have to offer, I also say it's powerful to see two black men partner in friendship and business together.
Absolutely.
When you all first moved on owning this space, what was the pitch that Tony gave you? He said, hey, I told Cliff, what was the pitch and what were you thinking when you said, all right, let's do this?
Yeah, well, you know what? Tony and I had worked together for over 10 years at Hot Sam's.
Uh-huh.
My background was a little different than Tony's. He started at Hot Sam's, I think, in 1973. And I started at Hot Sam's in 83. But by way of, before I came to Hot Sam's, I worked at a men's clothing store on Van Dyke and Harper, Bill's Menswear, through high school as well as through college. When I graduated from college, I worked at J.L. Hudson Company for 6 years. So I was a buyer, department manager, and the assistant personnel director, over the course of 6 years. So when Tony came to me in terms of us partnering to, own the business, I didn't have any fear because I had managed the business, I had bought, human resource, so I had all that experience, So the biggest thing was to be able to put together a business plan to secure the amount of money that we needed to purchase the business, And thankfully, we were able to secure. We put together a business plan that showed, in the worst case scenario, that we still could service our debt. And we produced that business plan to a couple banks. Comerica was one, and then Michigan National was another. Comerica offered us half of what we needed, and Michigan National offered us 3/4 of what we needed. So, of course, we went with Michigan National, and then the owner took a note for the balance.
Wow.
Okay. So, the bank gave us 10 years to pay it off. But thankfulness, back during that time, business was good. We bought a going concern business, a business that was already going. That's a going concern business. A business already in process and going. And so basically all we had to do is take the keys and continue to go, because we were 90% of the business anyway in terms of the volume, bringing in sales and things of that nature. So it was no fear. It was just securing the loans that we needed to buy the business.
So you move in that direction where it becomes real, but also both of you all families too, because business is a family affair. As,
for sure.
As my my mother, grandmother, always supported my grandfather and my father in business. So getting the buy-in from your wife and his wife, because you're taking on a different amount of risk, as they say. Entrepreneurship is risk, and you're looking at now, possibly buying a business. That could be anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million worth of a loan, and it's like, all right, one second, what are we doing here? What was that buy-in in that conversation, getting your family to know, okay, we're going to transition into ownership, and then preparing for something like that?
Right. Well, first of all, it was closer to $1 million than $500,000. I tell you that, know. And so getting the family or the wives to buy into it, it's an opportunity, It was a great opportunity buying a business that was already in process, a going concern business. And then the thing is, with just convincing the wife it's okay to put your home up for collateral.
Okay, which
because those are things that you have to do. You put your home up for collateral, and then also you have to give a certain amount from the bank. You have to give 10% of your savings from the bank towards that loan. So once my wife was comfortable, as well as Tony's wife was comfortable with that, then. It was a smoother process.
Yeah.
Of course, anytime you go into a business venture, you always have to look at the downside. If it does not succeed, then what? I mean, do I lose the business or the money that we put in, my family, and all those type things? You consider those things as well. But on the upside, I always thought positive about it. I never thought about, losing. I thought about the business growing and winning and being victorious, of course, and this venture, because in this venture, in this business here, my family, and I'm quite sure Tony's family as well, we had never embarked upon a business venture as such, I remember my mom or my dad telling me back in the days of the South, because I'm from the South. I stayed there for the first 6 years of my life with my grandparents. My parents came here when I was at the age of 2 to find work at Ford and Chrysler and things of that nature. That my granddad, his father had was a businessman because he had a farm and they did cotton. So he used to hire people to work for him to pick the cotton, So that's a form of, owning
Yeah.
a business, entrepreneurship. Okay. And I'm not sure if I gained that desire to be a business person
From him.
from him or not, but I'm sure that was part of the equation,
And you touched on something else that I always with Detroit is different interviews.
Yeah.
And Tony spoke about his family from Arkansas. Whereabouts your family? And you said the factory jobs led him here, but whereabouts in the South?
Well, my family is from a town called Livingston, Alabama.
Okay.
That's my mom, and my dad was from Bellamy, Alabama.
Okay.
And like I said, for the first 6 years of my life, I grew up in the South, right? Now, as a kid, I do remember my grandparents going to town, as we used to say, going to town
Yeah.
in a wagon driven by a mule or a horse, to go to the grocery store to do your shopping and things of that nature. And, come back home. I mean, you go in the wagon, you come back in the wagon, I remember as a kid, then I used to run around with no shoes on, no socks, no shoes, just little short overalls, you know what I mean? My grandmother used to grease my legs on Sunday, and we go to church and no shoes, And possibly if I had a pair of shoes, it was one pair, and it might have had a hole at the bottom where you had to put paper in, so... and then I also remember, we had an outhouse. We didn't have restroom. We didn't have that at that time, okay? I remember going into town, as we'd say, and you would see a fountain for colored only, for white only, So I remember seeing those things during my lifetime. And to say that I would go from maybe not having a pair of shoes or maybe having just a pair of little overalls as a kid, to
Being an
be
owner
in
of
a position. Now, if you choose to have, 10 pair of shoes, you could. If you choose to have 50 suits, you could. But I'm modest. That's not me as a person. My mother and my dad, we had taught me with, a lot of character, morals and values and things of that nature. And to always be humble. So that's been me throughout life. To remain humble, even though you've gained certain things in life. Just as quick as you've gained those things, you can lose those things, So I've always been a humble person. So I don't indulge in buying anything in this business, even though I can have it. I just don't indulge in doing so, But, just thankful in terms of where God brought me from and to. And sometimes I'm reminded that it's not where you start, but where you end.
Yeah.
And also reminded that, as the scripture says, your ladder is sometimes greater.
Yeah.
So I would say that in this part of my life, the ladder is greater. I've been blessed. I have 8 kids, 8 children, all my children. My youngest 21, so they're all on their own and doing well. College graduates, part of them. My daughters are anyway. My sons, they could have been, but they chose other avenues, But, when I think about life overall, and I think about, my oldest son, Clifton, who passed in 2012. And I think in terms of how my family's been blessed, because the families in California was paying $500,000 to get their kids in USC.
Yeah.
My grandson got a full scholarship to go to USC academically.
Yeah.
So that's a blessing. So I try and look at the blessings overall, look at the positive and not so much negatives, even though you have to deal with the negatives,
Yeah.
You deal with problems, but you don't let the problems have you, But anyway, the South really prepared me to have humility, okay? Because in the South, everyone's, spoke to everyone. People riding down the road, they're going to wave at you, very polite. They're going to wave, they're going to speak, they're going to invite you by for dinner, and things of that nature. Well, up here in the North, it's a little bit, it's just a little bit
culturally, it's a different
and
that kind of
culture. You walk next to somebody that may speak to you, they may not speak to you. You know what I mean? But there, everybody would speak to you. It's just a very respectful culture.
And
Yeah.
I have the question also in culture. It's the style
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Does the Detroit style and culture stand out in your mind, like of what we do and how we do things, like because it's a different swagger. I think that especially when it comes to getting a suit from Hot Sam's, then I don't know a competitor. So.
Well, Detroit, and we say that Detroit, especially us East Siders, we've always had a certain swag.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so we've always believed in dressing, looking good from head to toe. I mean, that's just been our reputation.
Yeah, you go to the right cabaret on the
Yeah,
east side,
yeah.
you will not want to bring your woman unless you are
Right.
clothed the right way.
And not so much and even being clothed the right way, we also had a certain stride in terms of our walk.
Yes.
That's East Side walk we had. So okay. So there is a distinct difference in terms of being in the city, growing up in the city, understanding the culture of the city. Understanding that the east and the west side is two different cities almost. Even certain parts of the east side, if you grew up on the east side, it's still a different culture, maybe from the part of the east side that you grew up on. So you have to understand how to mingle in terms of where you are.
Yeah.
Definitely. So thank God that Tony and I have been able to do that. I met Tony. I think back in 1971, I was attending the University of Detroit, and a friend of mine, or a friend of Tony's, was also a student at the University of Detroit, and I remember he brought Tony up to UD to play basketball.
Yep.
So we played. We were competitive. We played basketball.
I can only imagine the amount of trash talk coming from Tony on the basketball court.
Yeah, so we played back then. We played some serious basketball.
Oh, I can imagine.
So, and I think that competitiveness kind of goes into the business. Because back then losing was not a part of our
thought process.
It wasn't a part of our thought process. No, we're gonna win. We're going out. We're gonna play hard, and we're gonna win.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting on the bench. No, that's just not who I am, who he was as a person.
Yeah.
So, and we took that same attitude into the business. That it's going to be a winning situation. We're going to play hard. We're going to play to win.
So, as you talk about playing to win and playing hard, I definitely want to just get into what do you see for the future of what's next for Hot Sam's, and also just continuing this tradition of a brotherhood, of a friendship in business, also a family resource. What do you see for the future of it?
Well, a couple of things. I heard Tony mention in terms of how the youth, his daughter, has come in and she's more in terms of she's excellent in marketing.
Yes.
Excellent marketing.
Lauren Stovall
is
great.
And then with this new technology age, the computers, the internet, and things of that nature. Well, that's the wave of the future. We also, over the course of years, and what we've talked about over the course of years is, being able to establish what we call generational wealth. Where, you have longevity in a business, and you have buying power. Okay? And that's how you can develop your generational wealth, with longevity and buying power. Therefore, when you go to the market, just like everybody else, you have the buying power and you have the generational wealth. So you can compete. Unfortunately, many of our, over the course of years, African Americans have not had those two factors. We've been short on buying power and wealth. And when you don't have buying power and wealth, you really don't have a voice in the community.
Yeah.
Because the power is to be actually listen to people who have wealth.
And also
power,
And also,
so,
I think we as Black businesses have social capital. I think when I think of social capital, like Hot Sam, just you and Tony alone, a name drop opens up doors for many folks.
Yeah.
But especially when that name drop is validated, when a person 2 seconds later gets on the phone and calls you and Tony like, hey,
right. And see, that's so true. Having a social status. I remember when Tony and I bought the business. Many of our friends were saying to us, you know, you guys should change the business name to Tony and Cliff.
Mhm.
Well, that was their thought process. We knew that Hot Sam's had value
Mhm.
and Hot Sam's had goodwill
Mhm.
because of their longevity in the industry. And people knew Hot Sam's throughout the country. Okay. They didn't know Cliff and Tony throughout the country,
Yeah.
but they knew Hot Sam's. Now, had not we, hey, how you doing, brother? Had we listened to those folks who was telling us to change the business name to Tony and Cliff, we would not be celebrating 100 years.
Nah.
Okay.
Mhm.
But because we were not led by them, but led by the Spirit, you know,
Mhm.
God led us to be sound and have a base and understand where our blessings come from, and that we had no fear in keeping the name Hot Sam's and growing that name Hot Sam's, you know, because now we can pass this business on to our children, and because we can, it now has value that they can use
Yeah.
the name of Hot Sam's to open doors as well.
Yes.
Because the name Hot Sam's did open many doors for us.
And it can keep carrying on
Yeah.
the tradition.
So it's a concurrence of being able to,
Mhm.
if our children decide they want to, you know, continue the business,
Mhm.
well, the name has value.
Yeah.
You know, you pick up the phone, well, my dad, you know, owned Hot Sam. Who's your dad? Mr. Green or Mr. Stovall? Oh, yeah, I remember him. What do you need?
Yeah.
You see, that's how you get the favor.
True.
Okay.
True.
And by being responsible. See, because like when we took the business over some years ago, it was said by many of the other store owners in this area. We had Sermons, we had Jailstones, we had Broadway, we had Jerry's,
Yeah.
about 4 or 5 different stores at that time. And they thought and they said that we wouldn't be in business for no more than 6 months.
Yep.
Okay.
Hmm.
Because they didn't think we had the business savvy
Yeah. To be in the market.
to be in the market or to operate a business.
Yeah.
They didn't think we had that savvy. But like I say, my degree was in business from the University of Detroit.
Mm.
Okay. So I bought for Hudson's
Mhm.
for 14 stores.
Mhm.
I was a manager on in the men's department on the main floor, Hudson's downtown. I was a manager, you know. And then I was the assistant personnel director at Hudson's Northland.
Mhm.
So I had experience. Had been in retail at the time since 1967. You know, I started off in high school taking a tailoring class, you know, where I used to make clothes in high school. We used to make all the blazers for the faculty members for schools that they wore on Fridays. We made all the little skirts for the cheerleaders at my school. You know, that was my trade. And my co-op teacher, matter of fact, in the 10th grade, she got me a job in a men's clothing store on Van Dyke and Harper called Bill's, you know. So I had been in retail, man, when Tony and I bought the store in 94, since 1967.
Hmm.
I mean, so that was my niche.
You had the confidence.
Yeah,
You knew
yeah,
it
yeah.
could work,
So
like you said.
I never not had the confidence, you know.
Yeah.
And then, you know, after I left Hudson's, I kind of ventured off and did my partner and I were off into sales and distribution of athletic sportswear to various schools in the city of Detroit. We sold and distribute quiet robes to various churches. We did custom alterations for men and women. We sold women leather outfits, suede outfits for females. And so, you know, I just had a lot of experience. So part of my customer base back then, when I moved the alterations in my home after my partner and I closed our business after 3 years because of the recession. But, you know, Coleman Young's attorneys were my customers. You know, the Four Tops were my clients in terms of alterations, you know. I worked at Blue Cross for 6 months as a research analyst. It was being sued, so they need someone to come in to do some research for hiring practices. And so I just had a lot of wealth of experience,
Yeah.
you know. So that's why I said fear and failure was not really an option.
Yeah.
I mean, those are things you have to look at, worst case scenario, but it was just not part of
What was happening?
what was happening, you know.
I understand.
So you know, we've been blessed,
Mhm.
and like I said, prayerfully, our children. One of our children might decide to take the business over. Matter of
Yeah.
fact, my son Chase. I don't know if you remember son Chase, but he worked. matter of fact, most of my boys, 5 boys that worked here
Yeah.
at some point in time, you know. But anyway, Chase, he has a son, and he used to work in the store with us. And so when little Chase would be in the store, we used to teach him business ethics, right? So when you answer the phone, Hot Sam's, how may I help you? He had 5. We had him answering the phone, right? So one day a customer called, and he answered the phone. He said, Hot Sam's, how may I help you? And the customer said, could I speak to a salesman? So my little grandson said, well, I am a salesman. Okay. So the customer said, well, can I speak to an older salesman? Right? Okay. Because we told him you are a salesman. So he believed at 5 that he was a salesman. You know what I mean? So that's how you start them, you know. My wife made cookies from time to time, certain occasions, and she'll have him come down and set up, and he sell cookies, you know. So, you know, getting him to understand the business concept
Yeah.
in terms of selling and servicing, you know, and to also understand how you have to produce a quality product in order for the customer or the consumer to buy your merchandise. Now, there's a couple things with Hot Sam's. We always say that one thing about Hot Sam's, quality is so good that our merchandise just lasts too long. You know, it never wears out because of the quality, you know. But we preferred having that reputation than having a reputation of not selling quality goods, you know.
Yeah.
I'm a strong believer in quality and service.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's what keeps your doors open.
Yeah.
You know, quality and service. Initially, when we opened up, I tell people that in order to sustain the business, you got to take care of your business. We as African Americans, you got to be professional. You know, there's just certain things you got to do. You got to pay your taxes, number one.
Yeah.
You know, you got to open on time. You got to close on time. You got to serve the people. And you got to make the people feel that they're the most important thing at that particular time. They are the ones that keep your doors open. You know, you don't keep your doors open. I mean, you are a part of keeping your doors open, but it's that patron, it's that customer who service you,
Yeah.
who keeps your doors open.
True.
Yeah.
True.
So you got to make them feel like they're the king and queen at all times. And even if they're wrong, you have to find a way to soft it. You know, make it a little bit softer to give them a different approach in terms
Yes.
of, okay, why don't you think about this?
Uh-huh.
You know, opposed to just being so direct. You know, and our people, because our people, we're peculiar. When I know I'm going on, but when Tony and I first took over, right, about 6 months after we took over, a customer called, and he said, "You know what, man? I need a white suit." But before that, he said, "I saw you guys on the commercial when you took over, and I was just so happy. I was so proud, man, to see my brothers take over Hot Sam's, right?" So he tells me at the same time, he said, "You know what? I needed a white suit, and I went to the warehouse, and they didn't have it. And then I thought about Hot Sam's, right? So that's when he called. So in my mind, I'm saying, if you were so happy for us,
Yeah.
why were then we not your first choice? Okay? If you that happy, we should have been your first choice,
Yeah.
not your second. Now we're grateful that you still came, okay? But we should have been your first choice. So we as African Americans, I think if we understood economics, see, that's one of the things that we were really never taught in school, economics, okay? The power of the dollar, okay? Because we spin away our power. And then we become voiceless. But then we want the power to be to listen. It just doesn't work that way. So, understanding economics, I think if they had done a better job of that in school when we came up, I think we would be much further ahead. I listened to some of my Jewish friends, okay? When their babies are born, they have mutual funds, they have stocks, they have bonds, they have savings certificates, you know. So when their babies graduate from high school, they have over a couple $100,000 already tucked away. You know, that's a good start. for business, for a home, or for whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We've never been fortunate enough to understand that if we power, if we pool our resources together like that, we could be in the same situation. Understanding that as African Americans, we really need to learn to unite more together. We can unite and understand that everybody doesn't have to be the chief.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? You can have a leader and everybody else can join in to make the process work.
And that's what I also think is so beautiful and amazing about this business. It is the brotherhood partnership.
Yes.
Because oftentimes, even when I was interviewing Tony, when you hear about business, it's the rugged individual going out for self, focusing on self, really don't bring in your family. You don't want to mix in with your friends. It can be bad, but you all hop so many of those hurdles by making this a community resource where everyone feels welcome, but you definitely, even through that friendship, I think that spreads out to everybody in here.
Oh, for sure.
It changes the tone of is it, he said, nobody's feeling like it's my store today and then it's your store then, and I come in at 10 and you come in at 12. It feels very community.
Yeah, it is community, and in business, particularly in this partnership, we understand our role. My role is more operation. That's my role. Even though I do other things as well, I do interviews and do some marketing as well. And Tony's role is more marketing. I mean, he's the marketing guy. That's what he does. That's his specialty. Even though he participates in some operation too, but that's my role. And I feel responsible for that. And I've done it since we've bought the store in '94.
Yeah.
And his role has been marketing. So, and between the two of those, I don't step on his toes. He don't step on my toes. We do the best for the business.
Yeah.
It's not a personal thing for me. It's a business. We want to leave a legacy for our children.
Yeah.
And then just to leave a legacy for the name of Hot Sam's, to say at some point in time, years from now, that a black two brothers, both from the east side of Detroit, ran a successful business.
Yeah.
So that can be a roadmap for any of our future young people.
Definitely.
To say that it can be done, that it's not impossible.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So, like I say, we understand, hey, Jane, we understand a niche. Because in business, you have to have a niche, and our niche is being able to service the community with a quality product.
And as we get to a close, classic Detroit is different questions. One, I'm gonna ask differently.
Sure.
First car, year, make, and model. What year did you get it?
First car, and today, if I had known then what I know now, I still would have had my first car. My first car was a 1957 Chevy.
Oh man,
a classic.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, people be clamoring over that car.
A classic that I bought from my uncle.
Okay,
and this was in 19.
Did he really sell it to you, or did he sell it to you?
Well, he gave it to me for $100, right?
Okay,
so that's you wanted to say, hey,
then was probably like a little bit of some work. It was like $100 then may have been like what, $1,000,
maybe $1,000.
$1,000 today. Yeah.
But for a '57 Chevy, and I said to myself, what was I thinking to get rid of that car? I just was not thinking clear. You know what I mean? Because when you're young like that, you want newness.
Stuff. Yeah.
I wanted to get a new car. And so I kept it for a couple of years, and I wanted to buy a new car.
Do you remember the first place you went with it?
School.
Okay, so you got a car.
I drove it to school.
Okay.
I drove it to school.
And I know you became a ride for everybody eventually.
Well, you know what? The difference in me in terms of me going to school, driving my car to school, I worked after school. So directly after school, I went straight to work.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
So that's how you had that $100 to buy the car.
Yeah. So therefore, everybody was not able to partake in me riding them to different parts of the city. My trip was to work, And but that was my first car, 1957 Chevy, pink and white. 4-door. I remember it just like I can see it today, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna ask you the different last question. If you're the DJ at the end of the fireworks in Detroit, Woodward and Jefferson, what song are you playing at the end of the fireworks? You can pick any song.
It would have to be. I'm trying to remember the name of the song, but something like I'm trying to remember the name. It's "Let's Get Along, Let's Live Together in Peace and Harmony." I just can't remember the name of the song, but that would be my, you know, theme song in terms of us uniting, getting together, living together in peace and harmony as a nation. And I guess you could probably say we are the world then.
Okay. We are the world. You could go
so
everyday people.
Everyday,
from, Slide the Family.
Yeah, right. One of those songs, you know, that have some unity in it, you know, and that would be my theme song.
Okay.
Because of such division in this country right now.
I'm gonna say in the vibe, and you feeling the clothing gives me that Bay Area feel. So we're gonna throw this out to Sly, even though I still think the best funk is in Detroit. But we love Sly.
I love Sly. Sly was one of my favorites. As a matter of fact, I was listening to one of his songs recently, and it was just a classic, man. It just makes me move every time I would think about it, you know. Yeah, Sly was a classic.
Yeah, my dad loves Sly.
He loves Sly too, yeah. Sly and the Family Stone.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
All right, 100 years. You know where we're going to be at. You're going to find out more about this celebration. Make sure you can come on out. Everyone is welcome from the city of Detroit. If you've never been to this establishment, you've never met these people. If you think what I do is cool and you wonder like, okay, how did I get into cool stuff? You got to meet like the collection. And these are two of the best big homies you can meet, especially if you're a young black man or you're a mother with young black men, like a lot of people say. They come in here and can soak up some good game. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Corey. Appreciate you.
Black revolutionaries, distillery owners, Italian fashion retailers, and Motown Grammy winners all share their best stories never before told in any other media outlets on Detroit is Different. Visit DetroitisDifferent.com or download the Detroit is Different app on Apple's App Store or Google's Play Store.